On a spring afternoon in 1883, a young woman named Sarah tidied up her farmhouse in a tiny settlement called Eagle Creek in Arizona. While Sarah cleaned, her sister Elizabeth took a bucket outside to get water from their outdoor spring. Sarah and Elizabeth actually lived together in this farmhouse along with their respective families. The American West at this time was sparsely populated and dangerous, so it was not uncommon for families to kind of band together like this. Their husbands herded the sheep and worked the land, while Sarah and Elizabeth looked after the house and also took care of their collective 4 kids. All of a sudden, the family's dogs began barking really aggressively. Right in front of their house was this big sandy hill. Once Sarah was out on that porch, she immediately surveyed the area out in front of her. She suddenly saw this huge creature emerge and begin coming down the hill in her direction. It was this massive, 4-legged creature with red fur. And on the back of this creature was this man. His face was horrible and sunken. She saw he was missing eyes. Now Sarah was a deeply religious person. All she could think was, this is the devil, and it's coming to get me and my family. And so instinctively she just turned, bolted inside the house, and then rounded up the 4 kids and sat in the kitchen, huddled over them. Sarah suddenly heard this blood-curdling scream come from somewhere outside. Then she remembered her sister was out there getting water. Sarah was so scared she couldn't move. Hours later, her sister Elizabeth had not come back to the house, but just then, she hears footsteps out on the porch. It was the sound of her and Elizabeth's husbands. She rushed to the door and immediately began sobbing and telling these men about what had happened. And so the 2 men that grabbed their firearm. And as they turned the corner and they finally saw the spring, they also saw Elizabeth. She was dead. And so the corner, he comes out. Elizabeth looked like she had been trampled to death. However, when he examined the hoof prints, they were way too big to be a horse's hoof print. Before long, basically, everybody on the Arizona frontier had heard about the devil and the strange creature he rode. Together, they were called the Red Ghost. About a decade after Elizabeth's death, this farmer in eastern Arizona happened to look out his window, and there, standing in his turnip patch, was the so-called Red Ghost. He grabbed his firearm and he fired. Once the creature was down, the farmer rushed outside. He knew immediately that all the stories about this creature had been wrong. It would turn out the Red Ghost was a combination of 2 very mortal beings. For folks in Arizona in the late 1800s, they would have no way of knowing what this creature was. It was a camel. It had been brought to the United States from the Mediterranean, and it had escaped captivity. The devil on the back of the camel was a man's decomposing corpse. We don't know who this man was. All we know is at some point, he was fighting this camel. This camel escaped. He died. And then this camel just roamed around Arizona for years with this corpse on its back. Today, the Red Ghost remains a local legend in Arizona. In fact, there's even a permanent statue of the camel in a small Arizona town called Quartzsite.